The Imperium treats its weapons like holy relics, but most of them are scraps from a time when humanity built miracles casually. The Dark Age of technology was our peak, when humanity's machines could humble even the Eldari, and what's left are some of the most dangerous objects in the galaxy. Technology so powerful, the Emperor himself had to ban some of them outright. These are the 10 most powerful relics from the Dark Age of technology. The standard template construct, also known as the STC, is the singular most important human technology ever created. It was designed right at the peak of the Dark Age of technology and is in essence a memory bank operated by a highly adaptive and intelligent AI that allows the interface between human and information to be as seamless as possible, which means that STCs can do a wide range of things like giving blueprints for weapons, completed instructions for building factories, reactors, or even entire settlements. And then the onboard AI provides solutions to both social and industrial problems that might crop up while actually creating those things. Speaking of new settlements, the STC is believed to have originally been sent along with every new colony ship sent into space from old Earth as we started spreading across the stars. This allowed new colonies to carry the combined knowledge and power of all humanity, and even allowed communication with other STCs to create a sort of network to quickly spread our new discoveries and inventions. The standard template construct was the crowning achievement of the Dark Age of technology, but almost all of them were lost when Old Night fell. The Men of Iron Rebellion and the warp storms that cut off entire systems left countless STCs destroyed in battle or wiped out by disaster. Others simply broke down after centuries of jury-rigged repairs, their databanks far too complex for isolated colonies to maintain. And many degraded over thousands of years into corrupted archives. The few that survived intact were guarded jealously by worlds who knew that both aliens and human raiders would kill for even a fragment of that ancient knowledge. Now, over 15,000 years later, nearly every single original STC has been lost, destroyed, or degraded into uselessness. Some templates from that time were preserved long enough to be recovered, like the Rhino chassis, the Land Raider, and even the simple lasgun. But instead of producing new templates, the role of STCs has evolved to become more about conservation since humanity has such a hard time making new technology. And no matter what we make, it will never be as good as the STC designs, which is why the Adeptus Mechanicus has been hunting them for over 10,000 years. On the world of Vigilus, inside the Nachman Gauntlet, lies a citadel that is built around a very unique weapon. Originally believed to have been an experimental site for an ancient human colony, the Citadel Vigilant houses the Void Claw, a weapon so terrifying that even Chaos Space Marine sorcerers don't want to communicate with its hungry machine spirit. Running up the spine of the Citadel, the Claw is a massive gravitic generator, an enormous cannon that generates gravitic anomalies that rival the strength of a collapsed star, meaning that it's an incredibly accurate and powerful black hole gun. It works by focusing a beam of crushing energy upon a single point to open a singularity smaller than a pearl, forcing a breach in the fabric of space-time itself. Though tiny, this singularity can bypass all known types of shielding. The devastation that this causes can be incredible. Replacing a system's star with a black hole of similar mass doesn't do much more than radiation output, but adding an entirely new and massive point of gravitational pull is enough to rearrange continents and pull whole oceans off the surface of nearby worlds, something that several planets in the Nachman Gauntlet have learned firsthand over the millennia of the Claw's existence. During the War of Beasts in the opening years of M42, the weapon was captured by a band of Dark Angels Fallen, and then again by Abaddon the Despoiler, who used it to create an anomaly between Vigilus and its moon, right before a team of loyalist Dark Angels managed to infiltrate the Citadel, turning the Void Claw off before it could obliterate the entire sector. Forged in the earliest days of the Dark Age of technology, Adrathic weapons are relics that even the Emperor feared. Their beams don't burn or blast, they unmake. Matter caught in their path unravels at the molecular level, leaving behind only a flash of light, similar to how a Necron Gauss rifle works, except that some claim Adrathic weapons can even shred the target's soul. During the Age of Strife, entire wars on Old Terra were fought over caches of these guns. They promised absolute power, and wherever one was unearthed, chaos followed. When the Emperor rose to unify the planet, he made a decree that every Adrathic weapon was to be surrendered to him. Any group that tried to conceal one, rebels, nobles, or whole city-states were totally destroyed as a warning to others who might think to do the same. Since that time, only the Emperor's personal artificers have known how to create them, which means that in the 41st millennium, Adrathic weapons exist solely in the armories of the Adeptus Custodes, each one a reminder of the power humanity once held and the fear it still inspires. Imagine a weapon so powerful that when you pull the trigger, your target doesn't just die, they are erased. Every trace of them, every memory, every record, every image gone, as if they had never existed. This is the so-called Retcon Gun, an unnamed piece of Dark Age archaeotech that doesn't kill its targets but edits them out of reality. Scholars refer to this type of device as an ontological weapon, a thing that redefines what's real by declaring its victims were never there to begin with. The only account we have comes from a Dark Angel named Arvain, who used it against a group of mind-controlled crewmen. Arvain reports leveling the weapon and firing it down a corridor filled with enemies, and then they were just gone, and even his perfect memory couldn't remember who he had been shooting at. Long before the Imperium, before the Emperor ever stepped into the light of history, there were three kinds of humanity: the men of gold, the men of stone, and the men of iron. They aren't talked about very often, but they are the foundation of everything that came after. The rise of the machine cult, the birth of the Imperium, and the reason humanity fears artificial intelligence to this day. The men of gold came first, perfect beings created in humanity's earliest experiments with genetic mastery. Ageless, brilliant, and powerful beyond measure. Ancient texts describe them as leaders and philosophers guiding early humanity from the shadows. Some have speculated that they might have been early perpetuals, or even the first drafts of the Emperor's later gene experiments. Whatever the case, sometime around the beginning of the Age of Technology, the men of gold created the men of stone, humanity's second evolution. They were engineered to endure, able to survive alien climates, and colonize the furthest worlds of the galaxy. Many believe they may have been the ancestors of the Leagues of Votan, the squat clone kind who still roam the stars. But again, that's only speculation. The truth has been lost to time. What we do know is that they built the first great human empire, spreading mankind across the stars through logic, science, and reason. But even the men of stone needed help. To manage their growing dominion, they created the men of iron, artificial beings with true minds capable of thought, emotion, and invention. For a time, humanity and machines fought side by side, building an empire and crafting miracles together. Then came the fall. Whether through rebellion, corruption, or the unseen hand of the men of gold, the men of iron turned on their makers. The war that followed burned across the galaxy, ending the age of technology in blood and ruin. Humanity's empire collapsed, its colonies cut off by warp storms and left to die. Those who survived were the baseline humans, fragile, frightened, and alone in the dark. From that fear, the cult Mechanicus was born. They swore never again to trust a thinking machine, replacing true AI with lobotomized servitors and half-sentient machine spirits. And so the memory of the men of iron, and the gold and stone men that birthed them, faded into legend, a warning etched into the heart of imperial law. Phase iron is one of the strangest relic materials to survive from the Dark Age of technology. At first glance, it looks like any other metal plating, but when a psyker or demon touches it, the surface flares with unseen energy, shorting out their psychic power and searing their skin like acid. No one knows how it works or what its creator intended it for, although the effects it produces gives us a pretty specific clue. But even with that clue, the Mechanicus can't replicate it, and most examples are scavenged from ruins older than the Imperium itself. Today, phase iron is used for chains, cells, and restraints designed to hold dangerous psychers, the kind the black ships come to collect for the Sisters of Silence. It's just a shame that they can't reproduce it, because you can bet the Imperium's forces would love to have armor and weapons made of this stuff. When an alien threat becomes unstoppable, when the line breaks and hope itself collapses, the Death Watch unleash their weapon of last resort, the kill ship. A kill ship is an automated drone vessel built with the most advanced stealth technology the Imperium can produce. It drifts through void and sensor web alike, unseen and silent, until it reaches its target world. Once in orbit, it deploys Exterminatus-class weaponry, anything from viral warheads that strip organic life to cyclonic torpedoes that detonate a planet's core, tearing it apart with its own rotation. But the ship never stays to watch. As its payload falls, it uses the planet's gravity to sling itself away into the void, leaving behind only silence and ash. Most kill ships have no crew at all, no heartbeats, no life signs, nothing for scanners to detect. Some are guided by servo skulls or half-dead servitors, while others are entirely machine-run, their systems dormant until the moment of execution. One such vessel was used on the world of Rofanon. The Tyranids had consumed everything, every body, every city, every scrap of biomass. The kill ship was deployed and arrived like a ghost, slipped into orbit, and delivered a single payload. In minutes, Rofanon was gone. Its biomass burned completely, denying the swarm its fuel. For the Death Watch, that's the most extreme thing they can do, but it's definitely better to turn a planet into a candle rather than to let the Tyranids get stronger. Everyone knows the Thunderhammer. Massive warhammers wrapped in an energy field that enhances the strength of the user by several times to create devastating shockwaves. But as usual, the Dark Age of technology managed to produce something even more destructive. Meet the Macrohammer. First discovered on the warworld of Zaith in the Coronis Expanse, these weapons resemble a Thunderhammer, except that instead of an energy field, the Macrohammer uses a grid of microscopic singularities that open and collapse on impact. When it hits, space itself tears open for a split second, unleashing waves of unreality that rip the target apart from within. It's believed that these weapons were originally forged to fight the unnatural horrors that haunted Zaith while they were cut off from humanity during the Dark Age of technology. But obviously, wielding a hammer that tears open a little gateway to hell is a bit risky for the wielder, and macrohammers need to be ritually stabilized constantly to avoid any unfortunate warp rift related mishaps. The next entry is actually two materials that might share the same origin: the Blood Tide and Thirst Water. Let's start with the Blood Tide. Centuries ago, the demon prince Valdorius uncovered an ancient weapon from the Dark Age of technology, a relic that was said to be a swarm of microscopic machines that spread across entire worlds and even across the void of space. When unleashed, the nanovirus spread quickly, entering every living body across a dozen planets and draining them dry in a single night. Their veins empty, their bodies reduced to husks. And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the Blood Tide vanished. Whatever force powered it burned itself out, leaving no trace and no survivors. No one knows if more samples of it still exist, but it's not the only nanotech artifact out there. On the world of Baal, the home of the Blood Angels, something eerily similar was discovered, a clear, liquid substance called thirst water. To the naked eye, it looks like water, but the moment any living thing gets close, the moisture in their body starts to drain out, pulled toward the thirst water like iron to a magnet. During the devastation of Baal, the Blood Angels used it as a moat around the Arx Angelicum to hold back the Tyranids. The swarm tried to cross it, but the instant they touched the surface, they disintegrated into powder. And just like the Blood Tide, when the battle was finally over, the thirst water slipped back into the sands, gone before anyone could study it. Now, nobody knows if the two are directly connected. Maybe the thirst water is a mutated strain of the same nanoweapon. Maybe it's just another nightmare from humanity's lost age. But the resemblance is too close to ignore, and that's enough to make anyone wonder what other horrors from the Dark Age might still be out there. Before the Golden Throne was ever built on Terra, the Emperor had already tried once before. Somewhere in the dark beyond Imperial space, a lone station still drifts, an ancient construct from the forgotten ages of humanity. At its heart lies a machine called Dark Glass, a throne surrounded by dormant cogitators and silent halls untouched by time. No dust, no decay, as it refuses to acknowledge the passing of millennia. Dark Glass was the Emperor's secret first attempt at what would later become the Golden Throne, a testbed for opening the webway using psychic focus, and in theory, it worked for a time. But the experiment failed. The portal it opened was not stable, and when the connection to Terra was made, it tore through the veil between real space and the warp like a bleeding wound. The station was abandoned, left to drift in perfect, haunted silence. The Golden Throne on Terra would eventually succeed where this one failed, but we all know how that story ended, and so the Dark Glass remains, waiting for another psychic mind strong enough to open the webway for humanity once again. And that is just the tip of the iceberg as far as eldritch technology goes in the 40k universe. Trust us, there are so many more weird and wild objects floating around the galaxy of the grimdark future that we could easily do several discussions on the topic. So with that in mind, why don't you sound off in the comments about a strange bit of tech that caught your eye? A sentient factory perhaps, a monster that eats thoughts, a friendly AI. And if you've enjoyed uncovering these fragments of humanity's forgotten past, you can help us keep the stories flowing. Join the chapter of More Lore, where initiates power the vaults, battle brothers get early access to secret tales, and chapter masters are immortalized in our records at the end of every video. Or, if you just want to lend a quick hand, a like and subscribe are the simplest ways to help the ancient and unknowable YouTube algorithm take notice of More Lore.